Welcome to my channel. It's Catherine from Jayne Catherine on Books, and here's my reviews for the month of April for Galley, for all the copies that I was sent from publishers for me to review. And without further ado, here they go. So the first one, I'm doing them in highest order downwards, actually, to the lowest this time. I know I normally do them the other way around, but there's a reasoning behind this, because there's something very, be interesting to see the very last one. So first of all, I've got How to Be Human. This is by Paula Cocozza. This is Random House UK Cornerstone, and this came out on the 6th of April. It's got an amazing cover, as you can see from the insert. It's a bit of a trick on the eye. You can't see it to start with, but actually there are foxes there. You can see foxes on that cover. It's really lovely in real life. This is a debut and very unusual. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. It was quite sort of a mystery with a difference, with a bit of magical realism in there. We're starring, I'm trying to think of the name now. It's suddenly gone. Can't think of the name, our main protagonist. I'll link it in. And she is living on her own, and she's coming to terms with losing her relationship coming to an end, and her ex has moved out of the property, and she seems to think that she's doing okay, but I don't think that she is. She seems to be having problems at work. She doesn't really want to go out and do very much. She just spends her time at home. And one day she sees a fox in her garden, and as the story unfolds, shall we say, she seems to think that she's having a relationship with this fox. So we do get, she's narrating the majority of it, and occasionally we get the fox as the narrator, just to put a little bit of a different slant on things there from the fox, from Mr. Fox. And I think it leaves it open to your imagination to interpret this how you want. What her relationship with Fox is about. What is it, just magical realism, or is it symbolic of something? Is it symbolic of her loneliness, or is she starting to get a real serious mental ill health issues from the breakup of a relationship, and you know, she's sort of how can we say, she's not really seeing things in a realistic way as you would if you weren't mentally have a mental illness, and also when you're really low. We all know, don't we, that everybody seems to have got a marvellous life. Everybody else's life's going well. It's only us that's suffering and everything going wrong in our lives. But in actual reality, that's not the case. We all have our own crosses to bear. She's got these neighbours who have got a new baby, not long been born, and she thinks their life is marvellous. She goes to babysit sometimes for them. And it's, in actual fact, their life isn't. They've got problems of their own. You will find that the book's unusual start really threw me, because we find a baby, real life baby, on the doorstep. And where's this baby come from? Has the fox stolen it out of its pram or something like that in the garden and put it there as a present for her? Has she stolen it herself? Or, you know, there's another, how can we say, another spanner in the works. That's the thing I was thinking of. Another spanner in the works. Could it be that the next door neighbour, she's suffering from postnatal depression and just can't cope and goes and puts it on the doorstep? You'll have to find out and read this further. They're not spoilers in any way. They're just my sort of putting it out there, because you could interpret this exactly how you want to. So it all becomes clear by the end. It was a great ending. Good twist to the plot. It's a slow burner, so you have to, you know, it's not one that, oh, it's really one woman. You've got all these quick firing things going on. It is a slow burning mystery. So, you know, if that's your bag, I think you'll enjoy this. It's a bit unusual, but it's not too out there. It's not, you know, for those that really don't like magical realism and they've got a bit of a I don't know, it always used to scare me. I used to think, oh no, I don't know if I could read a book that's like that. But what I'd like to say is give it a try. There's not too much in there for it to be spoilt. I gave it 4 stars. There was a little bit of something missing, but I think I think Paula Cocozza's got a really good career ahead of her there, really. Next is OK Kevin. This is by James Dillon, and it's children's fiction, and it comes out on the 21st of April, published by Jessica Kingsley. This is a lovely little well illustrated book. There's some great illustrations in this, and it's really teaching children that it's okay to be different. It's okay to learn differently to everybody else. Some children learn faster than others in a variety of subjects. So whilst one can learn really quickly in English, somebody else could be really good at maths and vice versa. And this little boy Kevin was really struggling with English, and he felt that it was there was something wrong with him, and he wasn't as quick as the others, until one day he's found to be really quick at mental arithmetic, and so they have him running the little shop there in primary school, and he's really happy, and makes him realise that everybody has got their own special talents. All children, although they learn at different rates, there is something that they will excel at, and to acknowledge that you can't be good at every subject and be quick at every subject. So I think it's a great message that this is giving out. Lovely illustrations, really enjoyed it. Yeah, I gave it 4 stars. Nice little book, great to get for your kids, and you know, for any bookshelf in the classroom, really. So next, Stormy Seas. This is by Beth Leatherdale. It's by Annick Press. It's children's non-fiction and was published on the 11th of April. And as those of you that have been watching my channel for a while, I have been featuring many publications, mainly, I think they're all being fiction actually, to do with refugee crisis, and this is a non-fiction, not just covering refugee crisis in today's 2017, but back through the ages and from all around the world. And I think it was great. It's more of a middle grade. I feel more of a a middle grade target audience, really. I think it's excellent for adults to read. It's beautifully illustrated, and it sort of opens your eyes to the fact that this crisis, refugee crisis, is nothing new. It's been happening many years, over generations, from all different areas, and I think it's good. Anything that educates people on issues around the world and how others less fortunate than ourselves, have had to escape places of their origin that aren't safe. But very nicely put together, well written, beautifully illustrated. I gave it 4 stars. Next, Before the Fall, Noah Hawley. This is the latest piece of fiction. Mystery, I would say it's sort of more of a mystery fiction, really. This came out on the 6th of April by Hodder and Stoughton, shall I say, not Stoughton. And the premise of this is we have got various people that are going on a private plane. The owners of the plane have invited some friends of theirs, and the owners have got two young children, and then we've got Scott, who is just known, I think, to the owner's wife, and she offers him a lift in the plane, because normally he'd have to take the ferry and have a really long protracted bus journey to get where he wants to go. So she offers him a lift. He nearly misses this plane, but he gets on just in the nick of time. And it's no spoiler to say that within the first 15 minutes this plane has crashed into the sea, and there are just two survivors. So we've got Scott and the little boy. Out of the two children, the little boy survives, and Scott rescues him, helps him to get rescued along with himself. I really enjoyed the first bit of this book. That was really well written. It was interesting. It was sort of building up a tense atmosphere. But I do have to say that it then became quite mundane, I'm afraid. We do look into the backstory of everybody that was on the plane. So we get to know all about everybody that's on the plane, and there seems to be some sort of mystery. Was it really an accident, this plane crashed? And so you've got to work that out as you're going along when you get to find out the backstories of everybody on board. But it got rather monotonous, that really going through everybody's story. Very good ending. I did like the ending, and it was just a 3.5 star for me. I enjoyed it. I felt that it could, for me, it'd have been so much more, because the beginning and the level of excitement, I thought, goodness me, this is going to be a 5-star read, and couldn't wait to put it down. And then very shortly after, it sort of just became too mundane and drawn out. So I gave it 3.5, but you give it a try. Noah Hawley is an excellent writer. I just wasn't for me. I just felt that it didn't deliver to his usual standard. Can't win them all, can we? So next, Mistress of a Just Land. This is a Genebrush mystery by David Ashton. This is John Murray Press, and it came out on the 8th of September last year. So although I've just recently been sent this from the publishers, it has been out a while. Now, I requested this because David and I really like the Radio 4 adaptations of Inspector McLeavy. Inspector McLeavy. I can't remember what he says next. There's sort of, I don't know, Inspector of Crime or something like that. Can't remember now. And it's great. It's a long-running series. It's set in Scotland, and very, very well written. David Ashton himself, the writer, I think plays a role actually in the I was going to say screenplay, but in the radio adaptation of this. Excellent writer. So Genebrush is the love interest of Inspector McLeavy. Now Genebrush, what a name. Is it Brash by name and Brash by nature? She is the owner, the madam, of a high-class brothel, set in the Victorian era, so one of my favourite periods of history. So yeah, I thought, oh, can't wait for this, seeing as how much we love McLeavy. And I was a bit disappointed. Main reason is that I felt it was quite difficult fighting my way through the really strong Scottish accents at times, the way they were written. A lot of words in sentences were, and I think this is probably because of how the dialect sounds, but there were bits at the characters at the missing that were missing at the beginning or on some other words at the end. So you didn't always get full words, and I suppose that's fine if you're saying it out loud for the radio, but it was a bit heavy going to read. I think that perhaps audio would suit me better. I'm sure it would have been a 5-star read if it had been on audio where we got a narrator, because very well written. The premise of it is really funny in some respects, because we've got this High Court judge that is a regular, shall we say, of Genebrush's establishment, and in their basement they have all sorts of an assortment of Victorian toys, or shall we say equipment of torture. And this judge is found with no clothes on, dead as a doornail, in suspicious circumstances down in this dungeon, legs akimbo. Anyway, I'll not tell you any more, far too much information. You just, he's more short, fat and hairy, this judge is, than tall, dark and handsome, put it that way. And Jayne doesn't really want McLeavy to find out. She wants to see if she can solve this crime herself. And I really liked her character. All the characterisations were great. There's some great female characters in there. I like Genebrush. She's very sassy lady, and very good businesswoman. This is the first one of what's going to be a series, and I think it's going to be great, but I think I'm just going to have to stick to listening to it on audio. Hence the 3.5-star rating for me. I've read something recently that was in really broad Yorkshire, and as you know, I've got quite a strong Yorkshire accent, but that drove me mad as well. So yeah, I think I know to stick to audiobooks when we've got some strong dialect in there. So finally, we've got something called The Lotteries +1. And this is Emma Donoghue's first, as far as I know, foray into children's middle grade fiction. And oh dear me, I love her work. I love her adult fiction. I thought Room was excellent, and that was long before we had all the hype with the film, etc. And I should imagine that it is difficult to change your style from being an adult fiction writer that's got a well-established format, I suppose. Her books aren't all the same. Oh, excuse me, I've just got an itch. It's not as if, everything's the same with her books. They're not. But this just didn't work for me. So sorry to all fans, the same as I. What I feel about this is less is more. Less is more. There were too many diverse characters. There was so much diversity all packed into one that you were just overloaded with it. The premise is good. We've got two families that win the lottery, and they change their surname to the Lotteries. And we've got a female couple, and then we've got a male couple. So we've got gay and lesbian parents, and they actually get together and have children between all four of them, which I think is a great idea, so that all the children in this family have got good role models, male and female. I think the premise of it's great. They have 7 children between all 4 of them, and when they win the lottery, they all buy this big house and they all move in together. We've got one of the children that is transgender, which I don't think was handled particularly all that well. I think it's translating it into something for a younger audience. I'm sure Emma Donoghue was marvellous at characterisations. That comes through in her other books, but it was silly. It was just silly. there was just too much happening, and it was very bizarre how they all lived. The plus one is a grandpa. He moves in, so he's the real father of one of the four. I can't remember who. And bless him, he struggles because, you know, when you get an old grandpa, he's not used to all this diversity, and he's not used to what was traditional of the old nuclear family where you had a heterosexual couple and a couple of kids. You know, family units are very diverse, and they have changed. So the premise of it was great. You know, it's getting kids to know that we don't just, everybody just doesn't fit into little smart boxes, and everybody, you know, if they're happy, and does it matter how the family unit is made up. But that didn't come across for me. It was just, sorry, it was just silly. I don't know if I put anything else. Too many diverse characters. I don't know what more I can say. Great premise, but poor execution, I'm afraid. Yeah, I know that's just my opinion, but it's my honest opinion, and it's the same one. I gave it 1.5, which is very rare for me to go as low as 1.5, and you know, that is the review that I sent back to the publisher. But you know, I've tried to be fair. Emma Donoghue is an excellent writer of adult fiction. I'm not sure that it works for her to change genres. So we'll see what she comes up with next. So that is why I wanted to do it back to front. So the highest ratings first, down to the lowest ratings, because I think this was important. That you know, we've gone from, well, I've gone from, you know, 4 and 5 stars for Emma Donoghue's work to something that I felt so strongly didn't work, to a 1.5 star. But read it for yourself and see what you feel. Just a bit too silly and too much. So there we go. They. You can tell it's been a long day, can't you? Steam cleaned all the kitchen today, David and I, and we're both exhausted. So I think that's why I'm talking gobbledygook. Yes. So they are the ones that I've reviewed. You can go and look at if you want a full review of any of those, please go to my Goodreads channel, information down below, and you can read the full reviews on there or on NetGalley. The thing with NetGalley is that they don't seem to keep the information on there too long before they are archived, so it's easier, I think, to go on Goodreads if you want to see the full. And I'd be very interested to get some feedback from other people that read or have read The Lotteries Plus One. That'd be very interesting to see what other people feel. So yeah, hopefully there's one or two there that you like the look of, to look into, to read yourself. Apart from Mistress of the Just Land that came out last September, all of them are new releases, April 2017. So thank you for joining me. See you again next time. Bye for now.